We're good to go. Good evening. Time is 6 p.m. We'll everyone rise and join for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
It's a nation. God. Jesus.
Let the record show that the board is all in attendance. Is there a motion to enter the public hearing? Motion to enter the public hearing. Second. Motion by Julie, second by Darlene to enter the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. You're on.
All right, thank you very much. So on your desk this evening is a revised, just short PowerPoint presentation for anybody that's interested in the budget. I would ask trustees that if you have any changes, we could give them to me tonight so that we get everything in place. We'll get a newly printed copy. The trustees got a PDF copy of the new budget last Tuesday, and it's on the website, so the public has a chance to see it. But tonight we're going to do the public hearing for the budget. Yeah, enter. Yes. What did you do? I didn't do anything.
Technical difficulties. See, it's those darn PowerPoint presentations.
I know. Try enter. Doesn't work. What just worked? I'm technically challenged.
There we go.
Gotta use arrows. What arrow? You told me that. Sorry. Okay, so some of the things that the budget, as I talked about at the workshop with the village board, is just a little bit different this year. A couple of things. The capital, the levy for capital projects has been taken out of the general fund, and we now have all of our capital projects in the capital projects fund. We will be creating appropriations for the general fund, the special revenue funds. That's like the parks impact fee, law enforcement impact fee, and all the other impact fees, and the stormwater utility. The debt service is in a separate fund. The capital projects, for all our projects and the roads, are in the capital projects fund. And then we have the utilities for water and sewer. So we have separate appropriations for all of those fund types. For the first time, we've done more of a formal 5-year capital improvement plan. In the past, the village has done a 5-year road plan, but we've incorporated other projects into that. We have a whole section that talks about the capital improvement plan. Each one of the department pages in your budget has a little mission statement, has an outlining 2024 accomplishments, 2025 goals, a little personnel section, and then we have the numbers. The number pages include the actuals for 2021, 2022, 2023, the 2024 budget and year-to-date. And just a quick reminder, the year-to-date number is through June. So while we've had more updates in our monthly budget actuals, when we did the budget, we just kept it at the June 30th year-to-date number. So when you're looking at 2024 year-to-date, just remember that's through June. And then we have the 2025 proposed. On the 5-year capital improvement plan, a couple of highlights. Farmers Field concession stand, looking at that. Some improvements on Redwood Park, excuse me. The Harrison Athletic Association replacing the fencing. We're working on the emergency generator at Village Hall. Public Works garage expansion, which includes some new bays, some ADA compliant restrooms, showers, new break room and training room. And then we have some miscellaneous public works equipment to replace existing equipment as we move forward. 5-year capital plan also includes road work for Strawflower and Snapdragon, resurfacing Cedar Ridge, Hayden Heights Estate subdivisions, design of Old Highway Road, and then most importantly is the new fire station 70 on County Highway N and Manitowoc Road, and then some upgrades to fire equipment. So that's all included in the 5-year capital improvement plan. But most of our operations are really dealing with the general fund, is where we have all of our, basically our day-to-day operations. It's funding, if you're looking at the pie, about 30% of taxes, some small special assessments, about 17% of intergovernmental revenue. We also have licenses and permits, a small amount of fines and forfeitures, charges for services, and other miscellaneous. So this is the pie that just shows the slice of each one of those. If you're interested in the numbers, here are the numbers in all those major categories. If you look at the 2025 proposed at just over $6 million, it's down about 30%, and that's because on the miscellaneous, we had debt proceeds in 2024, but we moved all of those in the capital projects. So we're recording all of our capital projects in the capital projects fund, which kind of gives you a better understanding of what we're doing for operations to provide the key services to our community. Some of the highlights, again, the tax levy for operations is less the amount for capital projects because we're putting some levy in the capital projects fund. Debt proceeds for the debt payments in 2025 are in the debt service fund, but the proceeds go in the capital projects fund to fund those capital projects. Act 12 eliminated personal property value. We lost about $3 million in value. We did get a personal property aid about $10,000 to kind of offset that loss in value. Interest income is anticipated to be up from 2024. It's about a $99,000 increase from the 2024 budget, but it's still less than what we had anticipated for 2024. Again, trying to make some projections of what rates are going to do. It's kind of hard, and if I could be better at making those estimates, it would be nice, but I think we got a realistic revenue approach. On the expenditure side, most of the money goes towards general government, public safety, public works. There's just a small, less than 1% of health and human services, and then parks and trails. And again, parks and trails is pretty much just the investment. It doesn't include manpower. We keep the manpower for parks in the public works budget at this time. If you want to look at the numbers, again, I'm presenting a balanced budget. So we got revenue of $6 million. We've got expenditures of $6 million. Again, the capital outlay has been pulled out, so that's why there's that large decrease in the capital outlay. So overall, expenditures are down about 50%. Some of the highlights on the general fund expenditures include financing for a new finance director position that's been hired in 2024. We're looking forward to continuing with the village manager and replacing that, but also continuing funding for the assistant manager. We'll have some discussions on how that looks going forward. Inside the general fund, we did create a new department for the village manager, so that's new. We also have plans for a full-time building inspector. Right now, building inspection services is an independent contractor that we have working arrangement. I think we have his contract on tonight, but the budget calls for us should make that a staff position. We also are looking at a study to help look at fire rescue staffing levels. And then we also have another position in the fire department to help with inspections and some of the paperwork, and that's all included in that base funding. We still have funding for the village celebration and fireworks. And then staff's talked about looking at the municipal code. We've taken some of the sections and updated those sections. But if you look at the code, a lot of the code, when the town became a village, at the time, all anybody did was look at the word town and replace it with village, but there's a lot of references to some of the town chapters of statutes in our code. We should get that updated to village sections of the statute. And then also working at improving and enhancing our communication with the residents with the development of an annual calendar. So if you look at revenue minus expenditures, money left over, that's in government terms, we call that a fund balance. The village adopted a fund balance policy in 2016 that says we should have 30% of next year's expenditures in fund balance. For 2025, Our expenditures are, and should have been updated, but it's $5 or $6 million, and our targeted fund balance is around $1.8 million. You can see our estimated fund balance estimated to be at the end of 2024 is 5.1. So we're above our limit, but we're have a plan to use some of that for financing the new fire station 70. When we looked at the plans, we're looking at about $3.5 million to finance and not issue debt. So that'll take that fund balance down, but we don't want to take it all the way down to the minimum right now, just depending on current market conditions. So there is a reason and a plan why we have fund balance at this point in time, but we're looking to complete that in 2025. So we talked a little bit about the general fund, but we also have other funds as part of our operations, which includes special revenue funds. Like I said earlier, the park impact fees, law enforcement impact fees, the fire impact fee, the stormwater, that's all special revenue. There's some slight drawdown on park impact fees proposed in 2025, but we still are looking at a healthy fund balance at the end of 2025 for our special revenue funds. Our debt service funds, it's basically 1.3 is needed for debt, principal and interest payments. And we're putting 1.3 in levy in there so that fund balance should be relatively the same. Pulling over the capital projects, we're at about $4 million and getting fund balance. We have pretty much equal revenue and expenditures, so we still have to stay at that $4 million fund balance. And then each one of our tax increment districts are all doing fairly well. You'll note that tax increment district 5 and 6 are in a negative position right now. Tax increment district number 5, we're working on that development along and selling the land. We got that discussion on a little bit later in this agenda. So we're hopeful that once the land sales come in, we'll have enough money to make that general fund repayment. So it started out in a negative position in 2025 of about $600,000, and we really have no revenue or expenditures proposed at this point in time for tax increment district number 5. Tax increment number 6 has a partial assessment for Mr. Brew's restaurant or brew pub. So we have some revenue coming in. We have some small expenditures going out, but we're trying to slowly work that down. And then if you look at the enterprise funds, it's pretty much a break even on revenue and expenditures, so the reserves are staying relatively the same. So when we look at our tax levy allocation, you're looking at a pie shape. The levy allocation, about 40% going to the general fund, 28% is for debt service, and 33% is for capital projects. In numbers, in 2025, looking at a levy in the general fund of $1.8 million. Debt service, as I mentioned earlier, is $1.3 million and 1.5 for capital projects. So when you add all those and compare that to the 2024 budget, we're looking at a 4.4, just under 4.4% increase in the levy. And then I just wanted to note that there was an increase in the 2024 budget because the village board decided to do away with the transportation fee and roll that into the levy. So I just made a footnote on that column as well. But those are just the dollar amounts, the dollar changes, and the percentage change. So if you look at the tax rate, when I do a calculation, I do it without the tax increment districts, because we just want to look at the impact across the entire community. So the assessed valuation TID out is 1.2, which is a 1% increase. Because our levy's going up 4.4, our value only went up 1.8. We have an increase at the rate of about 2.5%, or about 9 cents. The equalized value is there. We had about a 6% increase in equalized value, and therefore the equalized rate is going down. The other thing the board has talked about is our assessed to equalized ratio. The state requires you to be plus or minus 10%. We were at 73% in 2024. The final numbers for 2025 budget, which is the 24 value, will be at 69.06. So we're getting further away from market conditions. At some point, we'll have to get that readjusted to get more towards market rate valuation. And how does that trend? Well, let me just talk about the trends real quick. This is a trend analysis on the valuation from 2021 through 2025. You can see that the assessed value has some increase, but very modest. But the equalized value is growing at a much higher rate because of market conditions. So we're now over $3 billion, and that's if you include the tax increment district and everything else. So it's either 2.8 or $3 million or $3 billion going forward. So what does that mean with the rates? The rate is simply a formula looking at the levy divided by the valuation. The 2024 rate was just around $3.50. If you look at the 4.4% increase in the levy, and the assumption in this slide just says if the value increased by that same 4.4%, obviously the rate stays the same. But that's just an assumption. That's not the real world, because as I stated earlier, the assessed valuation did not go up by 4%. So that's why we have the rate increase. And then if you look at what would happen if we got our assessed valuation closer to 100% with our equalized value, we would have about a 30% increase in value, and the rate would go down to $2.81. Again, that's hypothetically going forward. So I just wanted to show that as an explanation of how we determine rates. If you look at 2024, the assessed value, the assessed rate, tax rate was $350. Now it's $359. The equalized was $253, and now the equalized rate's going down to $248. And then what does that mean for a typical home? Typical home that would sell in Harrison in 2024 at $362,000 on average. We would have it on the books at $250,000, which is kind of the median price on our homes. The village, the underlying village share of the tax bill in 2024 would be $898, or just shy of $900 for village services. That doesn't include the other jurisdictions. You all know that when we send out tax bills, we're sending out the village's tax bill, but we're also sending out the school district, the county, Fox Valley Tech, and the technical schools and all those other ones. So this is only the village portion that you have control by adopting for levy. The cost of providing village services to residents on a monthly basis is just under $75 on that $250,000 home. The annual increase is about $22 from 2024 to 2025. So a typical home would see about a $22 increase for property taxes in 2025. So the next step from here is final adoption on November 14th. I'd asked all the board members to give me any changes in budget documents or any of the things that you wanted to see before that time, because it causes a lot of confusion if we have a lot of changes at the last minute. So if you have any other changes to the budget, now would be the time to do that. And again, the public hearing is an opportunity for people to provide comments or ask questions on the budget. So that concludes my report. I would certainly turn it over if there was anybody in the public that would ask questions or wanted to make a comment on the budget.
Send out the yellow sheets.
Well, I can do that too. So one of the things on the yellow sheets are just those pages that were changed. Again, the entire village board got a PDF copy of the completed document that has all of these changes in here. We just identified those pages that you had in your 3-ring binder that changed from the first version that had some green sheets added to it to this version with yellow sheets. So the new PDF has a couple other pages added to it. So I did put the previous page numbers in there so you could find the pages that replace in your current book.
So go by the written number.
Go by the written number. The printed copy goes with the new printout that we have. So, Madam President, if there's any questions, I would now entertain any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for us on the budget? Any questions at all? Chad, did you hear that? Never mind. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
I just wondered, the bill we changing the bottom line number here. What is the paid in the trail? I didn't see that in the 5-year capital. little, the trail that's around the baseball field and stuff right now, it's like gravel state that the grass is all growing through it and stuff. I didn't know what.
Thought we were doing it, we're happy to do it.
Okay.
Good catch.
Any other questions or comments?
Hey, did I win you $20 now?
Something here, man, something good, and I plan to collect too. Any questions or comments on the budget? Everyone's got an opportunity to look at it. It's online. If you need some good reading material that'll make you fall asleep at night, feel free to dig in. But if there's something that you see here on the capital improvement projects, especially that you don't see that you think should be added, please let staff know, contact staff directly and let them know. Chad?
Russ, that should be November 12th. Oh. That's what happened. I thought you looked at that book. No, it's my fault. It was me with my big fingers, so.
Okay.
I didn't catch that. That's November 12th is the special village board meeting, to adopt the budget. And that'll be the regular November meeting for that month as well.
Okay.
Thanks, yeah, sorry about that.
No other questions or comments? No one? Going once? Going twice? Is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Motion to adjourn, public hearing,
I'm going to open session.
open session, yeah.
So motion by Scott, second by Mike. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
All right, very good. So we have Baird next, correct? No, we have correspondence. I guess you're gonna have to wait for presentations. That's the next one. All right. Any comments?
I have one, thank you. This is for staff. I went through Darboy the other day. Is there anything updated on N and KK where the big gravel piles are? Which is, looks bad. as our
Nothing at this point, but yes, we're working on.
And I thought there was a July 1st deadline.
It's on our radar, yes, they are. In a development plan and probably moving those rebel files before the. So hopefully that'll get cleaned up and something will be.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, correspondence from staff or board? All right, you have the minutes, the previous meeting from October 8th, such a pleasure. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Julie. Okay, Julie, motion second by trustee Ben Hefty. Any questions or comments or changes? Hearing none, Coach ballot. You gotta push a button. The record show the motion to approve is passed unanimously. All right, public comments. Kirk? And if you could give your name and your address, please.
Yeah, my name is Kirk Gallant. I live at W5753 Parker Way. This is in regards to the Stargazer Estates decision that was made last meeting, in regards to street trees. It was kind of a subset of it in that there has now been a petition to remove all trees from the right of ways. And I was just kind of looking at the benefits of what street trees provide compared to the downsides of it. And like the village of Kimberly is a street tree city. So they see significant improvements in their stormwater runoff, their property value, their energy savings based on it. So I was curious as to why we want to remove trees that are already present, opposed to just letting them stay and building a program to allow them to be planted further moving forward. And that just something to consider moving forward. I know I've talked to a couple individuals on the board about this already, just to kind of put it out there, because I know in my subdivision alone, there's more than a dozen trees in the boulevard and they've all been there for 3+ years that I've lived there. So just removing a bunch of these trees for the sake of an ordinance that doesn't allow anyone in the village to even plant a street tree is kind of, to me, seems silly to take that value away from the village. And that's really all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mel, did you want to speak or you want to wait?
I wouldn't mind talking about 2 minutes or something after that board.
Why don't you wait until we get to your,
Well,
why don't we wait until we get to your item?
yeah,
Okay, all right. Oh boy, help me out here. I'm sorry, I can't. For some, writes really small. Is it Alice? Is it, I can't read the name.
1445. Man.
McMahon Drive.
There,
Okay, you wanna come on up?
I have a presentation for the, He's got an item on the agenda.
Oh, okay, boy, you write really, really small. I need better glasses, I guess. Okay, David Winkle,
Yeah, can I wait till item 9?
absolutely. And then Michael?
Hi, Nelson.
Hi, how are you doing?
And steel plates put in, so I'm not
Oh.
good, so good. I have a business,
Okay, we need your name and address, Mike.
okay, Michael Higgins, N319 Breezewood Drive, Appleton. My wife and I own C&M Storage. And it looks like they're gonna be doing a lot of developing over there. And right now, for me to get out, a lot of times I wait for cars coming up through the meat market and I swear they're doing 50 plus. And it's very dangerous to get out there. So if we're gonna do all that developing that I'm hearing about, what are we gonna do when it comes to the traffic control or whatever?
Well, the street stop and go lights are coming.
That's over on Lake Park, not on,
No, it's on State Park,
I mean, State Park.
right, okay.
It's not on Highline Road. That's what I'm talking about. If you're at the stop sign in Highline Road and you want to take a left, these cars come flying through like crazy. And if you're going to develop that area, I know you're putting lights at State Park, but what happens over here on Highline Road? That's a lot of land they're looking at developing.
Thank you, Mike.
Hmm?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Alice.
All right, that's all I have for public comments. Ready to move on? All right, now we have presentations. Now Bear gets. How you doing, Justin? And this is,
You can look at that. It's got one, just update on the back page, the general obligation borrowing. No, it's.
Is it in the packet?
I think it's the Harrison draft presentation.
That was a handout.
it was on the table.
Oh, it's not that one.
He said he added something.
I can't remember that.
Oh, so
Give me that.
there we go. Next presentation.
Oh, yeah, right there, there's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From, or there was an update.
So you should be able to move forward with the arrows. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see everyone. It's been about a year since we last looked at financing, and you know, when we were talking about this process last year, one of the things that was mentioned was looking at doing an every other year capital improvement type financing. for cost efficiencies, et cetera. So that's one thing that we took a look at and implemented kind of going forward. So that's gonna be a little bit of a change from prior years in what we've done. So in working with Russ and Chad very closely, what I'll do is I'll walk through the financing. We'll go through the issue summary, the timeline, the detailed long-term CIP financing plan, and then finish off with the general obligation borrowing capacity after potentially the projects are implemented. So if we go to the page 2 of the presentation. So the estimated size is $8,275,000. This is going to be a general obligation promissory note, so very similar to what the village has done in the past, 10-year type financing. It's going to fund the 2025 capital improvement projects for $2,380,000, the 26 CIP for just under $3 million, $2,990,000. The tax increment district number 2 for $1,905,000, and tax increment district number 5 of $1 million. It's going to be a variety of different infrastructure related projects that you have seen in your budget, and the different capital improvement lists that Russ and Chad have shared with you. So that's kind of taking it on and combining it into one financing for the 10-year issue. So it's going to mature March 1, 2025 to 2034. The first interest being next year, March 1, 2025, so we can get it on the levy. It will be callable March 1 of 2031 or any date thereafter. So that's when we can take a look at refinancing, paying it off, et cetera, giving you that flexibility. The estimated interest rate is a 3.75%, and the maximum parameter interest rate is a 4.25%. Now, there's gonna, like every year, especially this year with the election, there's gonna be some volatility. There's already starting to be some volatility with getting closer and closer to the election. I mean, we saw the Fed make the first rate cut last month, and you would think that rates were going to be continuing to go lower, but they've actually gone up. And there's a lot of question marks with that, and that's the election causing a lot of that. It also is it going to kind of spur the economy? How fast is the Fed going to potentially do the rate cuts? A lot of question marks out there right now, and so that's just something that we're going to want to get in front of you again if all of a sudden we see a spike in interest rates, and we may want to say let's hold off for a couple more weeks and maybe let things tame down after the election, if that makes sense. So the maximum interest rate is a 4.25%. Ideally, we finish much lower. So the timeline, the village board would consider the plan of finance and the parameters resolution tonight. It's a very similar process to years past. Authority for the final sign off of the note sale designated parameters is delegated to the village manager or assistant village manager. The preparations for the issuance have already begun. So the official statement has been put together. So that's like the stock prospectus that contains all the financial information. We've talked about this in the past. That's going to go out to the potential buyers of the debt. Bond rating, we actually had a rating call this morning where myself, Chad, Russ, Vicky, and Donna all participated on that call and talked about, all the things going on in the village. A lot going on, a lot of growth that you're seeing, a lot of development, and just kind of talk about what the strategy is with the long-term financing, the use of fund balance, and why that, what our plans are to do with that. And ultimately, the call went very well. So that we'll find out the rating of that in the next 2 weeks here. So then the marketing, so include local area banks in the issuance process. So that's kind of been consistent with what we've done in the past, making sure they're part of the issuance process. And then if the market is strong and meet board's parameters, sell the notes and finalize the interest rates potentially the week of November 11th. And then closing December 16th of 2024. The audit is done. We're all good to go there. So we're in good shape going into this financing. So let's go to the page 3, and there's a lot of numbers on this page. And what I'll do is I'll walk through from the left side of the page to the right side of the page. So very similar to what you've seen in years past. The left side of the page, that's your existing debt service payments on an annual basis. So that's what you financed in the past. That's what, I've been here year over year. We've talked about different capital borrowings. that's what the debt service looks like. And as you can see, after 2024, there's a pretty significant drop in the debt service. And that was, planned. We were thinking about that many years ago, kind of leading up to where we are, kind of going into this year and next year and so forth. And that's because we knew there were some larger capital projects on the horizon. By having that drop, it's allowing us to be able to absorb this financing that we're talking about tonight and have very minimal impact to the taxpayers. We also need to account for potential those building projects, the fire station and public works building. And being a building project and having a useful life of more than 10 years, having 20 years, and the longest we can go with a general obligation issue is 20 years. But that's going to have your higher interest cost because it's being taken out over a longer period of time. So the thought, years ago and kind of still today is we know we have great fund balance. You've done a really good job with maintaining that. That's where it makes a lot of sense to reduce that borrowing, apply that fund balance to those capital projects and reduce the interest cost for the borrowing. So that's been the strategy, and then that's what was communicated to Moody's, which is the rating agency today. And they really appreciated you're not just using fund balance, but it's going to reduce a longer term issue, and that's why you've held it a little bit higher in the past. So they appreciated that foresight. Then if we go a little bit to the right side of the page, there's that hypothetical future borrowing column. That's taking everything that, in my discussions with Chad and Russ, kind of what's coming down the pipe, after, not only this issue, the 2025 potential building projects, but what's looking like in the CIP list. And that's where we modeled in a $6.615 million financing. And then going forward, starting in 2029 and thereafter, every other year, it would be factoring in about a $3.6 million financing to make sure that those roads continue to get improved and, equipment gets purchased, et cetera, that, we're accounting for that stuff. So that's what that hypothetical future issue or that debt service is modeling out. Then you get to the far right, which is the total combined, and that's kind of how things may look if the entire plan is implemented. And obviously, that's going to be a year over year as you guys look at your budget and so forth. But and as you've seen from the plans that I presented to you in the past, this is a living, breathing document that constantly changes as capital projects become a more important thing or get pushed out. So it's very fluid, but this is kind of what we see from at least a modeling standpoint. So then we go to the page 4, which is the borrowing capacity. And this is where the presentation packet, if you take a look at that, this models in everything I just talked about, not only the 2024 financing, but the 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, et cetera, for forever. And it says, how do you look from a financial standpoint going forward? And as you can see, the black bars here, that's your existing debt payments or debt service on an annual basis. That's decreasing because as you're going year over year, you're paying that down. The kind of the orangish color there, that's the 2024 financing that we're talking about tonight. So that's layered on top. The blue is the building projects for the 9.5. And then the CIP, that's that 6.7 million, and then the 3.6 million every other year thereafter being factored in. So you can see that, at any point you have extremely good, strong borrowing capacity still remaining. And so that's an important thing as we're modeling this out to say, you're paying down your debts at a good rate, and that's allowing you to be able to continue to fund projects and be in a healthy position looking long term.
Questions, guys? Anybody have any questions, comments?
All I just wanted to mention is that in that TID 2 number, if you look at the previous stuff that we presented, the number was a lot lower. We have added in there a change order that the board is going to consider tonight for filling the lots, as well as final paving of Crossroads. So we're borrowing that money right now, even though we may not do the final paving until fall of next year. At least we have the funds in place versus going out for another borrow.
And what's unique too is right now the short-term rates are still very attractive. And so you have up to 2 years to spend that money without worrying about arbitrage rebate and all this other stuff. So you could take those proceeds and invest it at a GIP rate, which is about 5%+ right now. And if we were borrowing at, under 4%, you're able to capture that extra money for that period of time.
Questions, comments? No?
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much. All right. Transportation impact fee study, John.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm John Cameron with Ellers. And I'm going to walk through kind of the executive summary of the transportation impact fee study.
So you have to arrow forward.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excuse me. So from a precursor standpoint, in terms of what impact fees are, as you look at new development coming into the village, whether that be residential or non-residential in nature, you're obviously thinking about the impacts that they have to village services, and specifically looking at the need for new, expanded, or improved capital facilities. So an impact fee is a one-time fee payable at the issuance of a building permit that recovers the proportionate share of the capital costs that are necessary to serve new development. Okay, so that's just kind of an overview and precursor of what impact fees are. They can be used under state statute for a variety of different types of projects, but generally speaking, they're meant to recover capital costs. They're not meant to recover operational costs. They're also not meant to recover vehicle expenses, even though in most cases, or in some cases, those are considered capital expenses. But generally under statute, it's reserved for water, wastewater, transportation, roads, parks, playgrounds, land for athletic fields, libraries, those types of things. And again, more standard brick and mortar type facilities. They also, on the flip side, cannot be used to meet an existing deficiency. They really, again, as you go through the process, are meant to identify and quantify the share of these capital facilities related to servicing new growth and new development in the village. So as you look at building out an impact fee and thinking about, in this case, what are we, from a transportation standpoint, what projects really should we include in an impact fee study? And by and large, because you've got a specific time period to use the impact fee revenue, you're generally looking at projects in your capital improvement plan that have a very high probability of occurring within the next, say, 3 to 5 year period of time. There are a lot of municipalities that put impact fees in place in kind of the early to mid 2000s for projects that at that point seemed likely to occur. We then went through the Great Recession, and where a lot of municipalities kind of, as they were starting to evaluate their impact fees going forward, coming out of the recession, going, we're really just not doing a lot of the projects that we said we were going to do, or just things have changed very much in nature. So you're at that point facing, do we sunset an impact fee? Do we have to refund impact fees? So really, our message when we're approaching this type of study is to include facilities that have a high probability of likelihood of actually occurring, because the statute is specific that as you collect impact fees, you've generally got 8 years to spend that money. And that can be spent in a variety of different ways. At the time the project is done, if you're looking at financing the project, oftentimes you're liquidating the account, offsetting the amount that you need to borrow. Another very common use of impact fees on an annual basis is as you're collecting that impact fee revenue, you're using it to help offset the amount that you're levying for debt service, or on the utility side that you're using through your utility rates to pay for in the case of water sewer type projects. Furthermore, if you think about an impact fee study as kind of a living, breathing document, you really should be evaluating those impact fees roughly every 3 to 5 years or as growth assumptions, project costs change. So how do you go about doing an impact fee study? How are impact fees determined? Really at the outset of that process, you're going through a public facilities needs assessment. As part of that, you've got to take an inventory of your existing facilities. You've got to identify any deficiencies in those facilities based on identifiable service level standards. You're looking at your new projects. And then you're coming up with an impact fee based on your actual capital costs as well as a measure of new growth, residential and non-residential. So your growth projections become your denominator in terms of once you have identified the cost that is impact fee eligible, you're dividing it by your new growth. So in the case of transportation facilities, there were 2 projects that we were asked to include in the impact fee study. Construction of Woodland Road and Manitowoc Road from rural standards to urban standards. So the kind of the driver for the study is as you look at reconstructing these roads as new growth, new development continues to occur within the village, needing to do that in an urban standard in terms of curb and gutter, sidewalk type facilities, bike lanes, those types of items that you would typically see in a more urban type setting. So working with staff and the village's engineer as part of these projects, and I'll show you that here on this next page. We looked at the total estimated cost of reconstructing these projects to an urban standard, and then looked at the cost associated if we went about reconstructing these projects just as they were to existing rural standards. And the difference between the total cost to construct their urban standards and rural standards is being proposed to be recovered through an impact fee. So where you end up with in terms of new costs is approximately 64% overall of these 2 projects on a composite basis, or about over 14 of the estimated $22 million as recoverable through an impact fee. So what that means, and I realize this is hard to see on screen, but I'll walk through it. Once we knew, roughly what the dollar amount that could be recovered through an impact fee was, we then have to allocate that cost between residential and non-residential growth. And from there, we're looking at, numbers in the comprehensive land use plan, as well as numbers from the Department of Administration, and working with village staff on estimates for new residential and non-residential growth over a 20-year period of time, and allocating that cost between residential and non-residential. Once we knew the breakdown of costs, then it's just dividing the impact fee eligible cost by the amount of new growth. So what we end up with in terms of a recommended impact fee, for a single family home is $2,940 for a single family home for transportation facilities. The commercial impact fee per square foot of 84 cents, and an industrial impact fee per square foot of 63 cents. An impact fee for a multifamily dwelling unit proposed at $2,726. The final step under statute is to determine the effect that the impact fees have on housing affordability in the village. So we looked at the definition of an affordable house at $300,000, looked at the amount that would have to be financed with and without the impact fee, and then quantified it down into a monthly impact. And the monthly impact with the proposed impact fee would be an increase to monthly mortgage expense of approximately $24. So next steps, if the village board wanted to move the impact fee forward, there's a number of items that do have to be completed between now and then. You've gotten obviously an existing impact fee ordinance for a number of different impact fees that are in place. that would have to be amended to add this one into the full. The study would have to be placed on file in the office of the clerk for a 20-day period of time. There's a class 1 hearing notice, a public hearing that has to be done. So you could look to do the impact fee adoption prior to the end of the year. What's most common is you'll have the, public hearing the same night as you take up the ordinance amendment for the new impact fee. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So, but I guess it'd be more for Russ and finance person. We'd have to set a separate account then for that, and then that gets aside.
Yeah, what we typically do is that, remember when on the budget, we talked about those special revenue funds? We would actually set up a special revenue fund if the board wanted to go down this route. So that we can record the impact fees and then record whatever expenditures out of that special revenue fund.
The other question I have is that assuming a residential type urban road versus one that would be semi-truck laden if we're having industrial or
It would be
commercial?
an urbanized road with curb and gutter and storm sewer and
But it won't be
pathways.
specially designed for a semi-truck traffic.
It probably wouldn't be a truck road, but it would
That's
be
all I
an
wanted.
advancement from what it is today.
Any other questions, guys?
Thank you. So I'm very glad this was done. And we get discussion a little bit later on this, but significant amount transferred from our existing taxpayers out here then that already live here. Part of the responsibility for the growth. If this would all pass and get put into place, and then obviously there's all the groundwork of the revenue funds and all that. As other projects might come up. Is that just a matter of then another need to kind of do a study and then kind of get that on, like I'm thinking of, for example, if we look at Eisenhower between Midway and what, I mean, the brand new road that doesn't even exist today, it's a capital plan.
Yeah, I think we could amend the needs assessment, rerun the numbers and do what we need to do with them.
Yeah, you can amend the impact fee study as many times as you want to, and as prudent as, as it's warranted for new projects as they come about.
When we have to start doing that, so.
Scott?
Yeah, just quick question, because of the fact that we have only identified Woodland and Manitowoc, would that only be applicable to the development on those two roads?
The impact fee is payable by all new development within the village.
That's all I want to know. Thank you. But if we do it, sorry. Yeah. We decide to identify other roads outside of these, then we would, in that 3 to 5 year review period, we would adjust this.
Yes.
Julie?
Thank you. I have a question. I just want to clarify my understanding of this. So in the past, we had levied a transportation tax, if you will, on every resident in the village. We didn't do that anymore because of legal issues. So this is attempt to get new people moving into the village to help pay for what's going to be have to be improved because they're moving in.
Yes.
Okay,
For these
Thank you.
specific projects, correct?
got it. Thank you.
But this does impact every new home within the village, not just the new homes on the specific roads that are being.
Correct. That is correct.
So if you have like the rural farmhouse we just approved at our last meeting, they would end up paying this impact fee as well.
Okay, thank you.
Even though they're not anywhere close to Manitowoc and Woodland. Any other questions or comments? No?
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, presentations are completed. So we are to report. And I believe Jared,
Well, if anybody has any questions.
any of Jared's report is in your packet. Any questions or comments? Joy?
Thank you. Just a couple questions, actually. Where are we on response time? I know that the individual response time is listed here, but are we getting better on response time, or is there an overall?
I'd say it's problem status quo, we haven't made our location or anything, so. I mean, it all kind of depends upon the call. I mean, sometimes you're trying at the station and our response time is, you know, cut in half and most it's happening, but the response time in the whole weekend. I don't think change it, well, specifically because you didn't make any changes.
Okay, and then my second question is, just out of curiosity, again, I see we have 471 incidents for this year. Do you know how that compares to 2023?
We're a little bit above where we were last year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Jared. All right. Sheriff's Department, did he have to leave? Okay. wasn't
See what
here.
everybody had to be.
Yeah, I thought I saw him here before, so, no
What I can
comment.
tell you is that what's in your packet, he was gonna ask if there was any questions. And I don't think they had anything else for the issue.
Okay, so we're good, guys? All right. Okay, Russ?
My report's in your packet. I'd ask if there's any questions, but I do have one additional comment. At this time, I'm in our audience this evening. I'm pleased to announce we have our new finance director in attendance this evening. And Alyssa Van Upperen. Alyssa, if you want to just stand up, is our new finance director who will be starting on December 2nd. So welcome, Alyssa, to the meeting.
Look very forward to working with you.
Yes, welcome, very happy to have you.
Okay, no other questions or comments for us? Good. Chad,
I have nothing to add other than what's in your packet. I'm happy to answer them.
comments, questions for Chad? All right, Parks and Trails, Chad.
Sorry, I feel
Oh,
Civic Plus looks like going good so far.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Civic Plus looks like favorable so far.
We've launched both of the modules for the new website and the meetings management. It's like it can take about 16 weeks to get done. The meetings management should be up and running within a month. So we'll get trained on that and we'll start converting over to that. In the meantime, we've built some bridges on how to handle it on our old website. But yes, and then we'll launch the 311 after we get those two done.
Wonderful, thank you.
any other questions or comments? All right, we're to Parks and Rec Trails.
I have nothing more to add, other than I just want to, make a comment that Runaway Shoes and Prevea Health donated $1,800 to the village to put up wind screening nets at the pickleball courts on Darwood. So we did a public thank you on Facebook for them, and I just want to make a thank you here for them for that contribution.
Any questions or comments? All right, very good.
And I just will say that you're gonna take the things down for the winter. So they're probably coming down in the next month because otherwise they're gonna be ripped to shreds over the winter. So
Good idea. Okay, Public Works.
that's in your packet. The staff has been busy doing a lot of different stuff preparing for winter, but if there's any questions, we're happy to answer.
Any questions or comments? Do we still have a baby blue truck?
No, it's painted green.
That's a plus. All right, Vicky.
Most of my information is in the packet. I just wanted to make one, update on the election. As of today, we are over 4,400 absentee ballots issued. We still have today's to enter. So we're gonna be well over the 5,000, absentee ballots that'll be processed on election day for our residents. And we have about 600 absentee ballots that were mailed that we're still waiting to be returned to us. Voter registration, I checked that tonight. And so last Thursday, when I printed this, we had 9,089 registered voters. And as of today, 9,149. So we've registered 50 more residents in the last 4 days. So.
Mike,
Thank you. I see we're gonna have about 32,000 left in ARPA funds. They have to be done by the end of the year.
It's already been, they've got plans.
We have a project, the fuel management system project at the tanks over here would be one that will in there once we know where we are with the website, and we're hoping that we know that by the next meeting, so the board can approve it and allocate it for the deadline.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, we moved on way too quick. I had one question for Public Works.
Okay.
Is there anything that we need to do around trees? You don't have to answer it right now, but I mean, I'm very supportive in ordinances need to be enforced uniformly. I did speak to that gentleman. One of his concerns was, what are you doing with all the old growth trees that are in the right of way? And he probably had a valid point. So I don't know. Obviously, we're not going to go cut the old growth trees down that are in the village right away around the village. So maybe there's some fairness there. I don't know. I just wanted to.
We'll talk about that internally and we'll come back.
That's fine. Thank you.
any other questions or comments? All right, so we are to Brandon.
Madam President, the utilities report is included in the packet. Chad has an update on items pertaining to the station 3-4 span, and then we'll be available to answer the other questions.
So I just want to let the board know we did go out on bid for that project to replace the force main for the station 3, which primarily it is next to the North Shore Golf Club property in the railroad right of way. When we went to bid, the contractors told us that it was going to be very expensive to build this in the railroad right away the way it's laid out. So after some work a lot of work frankly by the staff, we have I think close to coming to an agreement with North Shore Golf Club to grant us an easement to get this thing out of the right of way and be able to bore this. But going forward, I'd like to have some discussions with the board about our current situation with the utilities engineering utility and some of those things related to this project and some concerns that have been raised as it relates to that. So we'll bring more information back to the board in November, but we're happy that we believe that North Shore Golf Club is willing to work with us, which will save about half the cost of about $400,000 to get it out of the railroad right. So that's where we're at with that project.
Any questions or comments? No? All right,
Thank you for thinking outside the box there. That a solution. Good work.
okay, we are to the approval of bills and claims. Is there a motion to approve? Push your button. Motion by Mark, second by Mike. Any questions or comments? Then vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion to approve has passed unanimously. Okay. We are to old business, the design contract for Fire Station 70. You should have two different documents in your packet. One is the main contract and the other is an amendment to that contract. And who's going to speak to this? Ted?
So we got those contracts late on Thursday. That's why originally it wasn't in the packet, but we shared them with the village attorney. I've had multiple discussions with Wendell. And I think we're recommending approval tonight, contingent upon continued correspondence with the village attorney and Wendell. Some of the issues I think are the fact that and I know Robbie from Wendell is online. So if there's any questions, he should be able to chime in. But some of the I think challenges here is the fact that the village isn't aware of, has never done a construction management contract before, as what we're proposing here. So the village attorney had a number of comments and I have a number of comments and we'll get there. We just needed some additional time. We didn't have it since the contract came in, but if the board so chooses, would recommend approving it in a form similar to what's attached. And if there is major changes that changes the kind of the gist of what the document is, we would bring it back to the November 14th meeting. But we know that there's interest in getting this going and moving this forward as soon as possible. So we don't want to belabor this, but there is some things that both parties need to work through from this construction manager standpoint, but other than that, I think the board can.
So then is that, Scott?
So for the process, do we have to make a motion in a second and amend the motion to have the attorney review? For
I
the,
think we just make a motion contingent on,
you know, the motion is to either pass or not pass it, and then if we want to pass pending attorney review, then that would have to be an amendment, right? Or
There's recommended actions to approve pending. Any process. So I think that's.
Pending review.
Yes, we told them that.
so I think all we need is a motion to approve pending approval by the attorneys. So if there's a motion by Scott, is there a second? Somebody push a button. Second by trustee Van Hefty. Any discussion? Any further questions? Then vote your ballot. Oh, Matt, did you want to speak?
No, good.
You're good? Can you undo your, okay, all right. Are you prepared to vote your ballot? Let the record show the motion to approve the contract has passed unanimously, contingent on approval by the attorney. Very good. Moving forward, excellent. All right, we are to new business then. Item A, ordinance zoning map amendment 24-15 Milbaton for Highline Road parcels 39,012, 39,018, 39,010. Thank you, Anna.
Hi, I'm David Winkle, 411 South Commercial Street, Enid, Wisconsin. I represent Mr. Baden. In front of you is a request to rezone approximately 54 acres from agricultural to RS1. If you remember, Mr. Baden has proposed several rezonings of the property with combination of commercial, residential, and most recently, just residential. And at the July 30th meeting, there was a long discussion about that. And I believe it was trustee Lancaster who said, if you change your request from RS2 to RS1, which are bigger lots, he would support that. And then based on that statement, Mr. Baden did go through the expense of modifying his request to RS1.
That was actually trustee Brantmeyer.
Oh,
That-
okay,
that
trustee Brandmeyer.
Made that statement.
So that's where we're here today, and we're asking the board to approve the rezoning request from A to the RS1, which has bigger lots for the property. I did send, there was some discussion about traffic on KK by that development. I did provide the board with the Department of Transportation car count, which luckily has a car count right at Mr. Baden's property on KK, and there's 7,200 cars that go per day past that property, which is Department of Transportation's lowest level and supports a 2-lane road. If that increases about 10,000, then Department of Transportation provides funds to turn into a 4-lane road. But I just want to put some figures on some issues that people have brought up on traffic. And we're lucky enough to have the actual Department of Transportation car counts. And that was attached to my letter I sent to the board. And we're also lucky enough to have that car count right there where the development is being proposed. They have an interactive website that I sent a screenshot to, and you can look it up, and they adjust their car counts periodically based on the new data. So any questions, I'm happy to address them. It's just a rezoning request at this point. The village's comprehensive plan says if there's any rezoning, that it should be in compliance with the plan, which is single family residential. In this case, at RS1 would be the bigger lots. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there a motion? And then state your motion. We're not there yet. Thanks for coming, guys. Whoops.
Right.
What?
That's what I'm.
Too many buttons. Too
The
many
nice
buttons.
thing is the Civic will be in front of me and I'll be able to work it from here and not trying to read the screen up there. So,
Mind your way.
no, I just.
What are you trying to?
Getting back.
I gotta go back. If you wanna.
You want us to re-sign in?
One more time, Vicky.
Yeah.
We did this the old fashioned way.
That's this way. It's this
I
way.
apologize. Think I wanna say yes here? I wanna start over.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
then we gotta sign in.
Okay, everybody sign back in again.
They won't let us do it quite yet.
I'm sorry.
You're there. All right, Julian, you were gonna make a motion.
One, he's gonna get one more screen again.
Now I need, thank you.
Well, that's discussion.
That's the beach.
That's request to talk.
So hit it again.
This is the second time and it should go.
Hit it a second time. All right. Okay, and then state your motion.
Oh, motion to approve the zoning map amendment 24-15 Malbaton Highline Road, parcels 39-012, 39-018, and 39-010.
There's second by Darlene. Any discussion? Trustee Lancaster.
I'm only gonna make one comment, just want to acknowledge that we love, like, Mike Hagan's comments tonight regarding people making a left hand turn out of here. That's all, thank you.
I just want to remind everyone that this is strictly a rezoning request. Okay, and the only requirements for a rezone are those items that have been submitted with his request. So, any other discussion?
Actually, one question, what did the planning commission say?
The planning commission recommended approval.
What was it unanimous or what was the vote?
It was unanimous. No, it was 6-1. 6-1. That's right, it was 6-1, that's right. So 6-1 to approve. Recommend approval. Are you prepared to vote your ballot? All right, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion has failed. With 3 ayes and 4 nays. So. I leave it in your,
Can I say my 3 minutes now?
it's too late now.
Late.
Yep.
I think he misunderstood because he asked if we could talk 3 minutes after we voted.
All right, Mel,
He did ask.
Mel, do you want to talk?
I only want. Should be. These 4 guys here are really 100%. I agree with them 100% because I work with this town all the time, okay? And we had to do this comp plan because that's what the town has got, okay, residential. But what this town needs, and especially now after listening to all this, is another deal just like you have with Frederickson, okay? 15 months and you spent all this money. Now, if I take do you even have that sketch of what I was doing or didn't even give you that?
Yeah, we've got that, but are you talking about commercial?
I'd like to I would come back next week and.
This board has, these 4 guys have voted against
Yeah,
every commercial development you brought forward.
I don't think they'd vote against this one because the first road would give you 16 commercial lots, just like you.
The problem with going to commercial at this point is it would be in direct competition with the crossroad development.
Point of order, you're speaking for the board. You're speaking for what you think we did not, these four, if you're saying the four, I'm imagining you're saying the four nays here. That we have not voted against commercial, this is not on the agenda, so
That's true, it's not on the agenda.
I would say Mel should be talking. No offense to Mel, I have nothing against Mel either, just for the record, because I heard some rumors of people throwing stuff around. I have nothing against Mel, just any development needs to make sense, and when Mike Hagan brought up a concern tonight. That is a valid concern, unsolicited, I had not talked to Mike Hagan myself either. So that's why I made that comment, Mel needs to work with staff, and I believe staff is more than happy to work with Mel.
I
So
will,
Mel-
but I will,
Mel,
but listen,
point of order, I'm gonna stop you right here. You're gonna have to work with staff. If you wanna bring through a different proposal. Trustee Lancaster is correct. It's not on our agenda. So we
Well, I
can't,
know
we
it is,
can't
but I
debate it
just-
at this point.
I'm just asking, would there even be any chance that they would even listen
It's
to
not on
16
our agenda.
lots that don't cost the city one nickel?
I tried to explain that to you. Trustee Lancaster blocked me from trying to explain it to you, so you're done. And we're done with this discussion because
Oh.
trustee Lancaster does not want me to talk about it. So we will take
It's
it off.
not on the agenda, that's
It's-
state law, it's not.
I was trying to explain something to Mel, but we are done. So Mel,
Okay,
we're done.
not a problem.
All right, so we're moving on to item B, final plat.
Congratulations. Mouse.
Okay, so we're to the final plat, Cedar View subdivision, Newmar Properties. Parcels 33,408, 33,418. And I don't believe Kent is here.
The Kent is here, the
Yeah,
planning
he's here.
commission,
I saw him
Second row.
right there.
the planning
Gar, okay, all right.
commission voted in favor of this. The development agreement and everything is executed, so we're ready to stormwater. So we're ready to approve now.
So is there a motion to approve? Motion by Scott, second by Mark. Any questions or discussion? Scott?
I just have a question about the process overall. It's not for this particular item, but when they submit drawings, does that get reviewed by the engineer as saying, yep, the calculations are correct for stormwater and all that stuff?
Yes,
And then we get charged for that analysis?
yes.
So my question is does person who submits this, do they have to pay a
Yes.
fee to process this?
Yes, there's a fee, and then on the application, it says that if there's additional costs incurred by the village outside of the normal, the fee that was on the application, they have to pay that additional cost as well. So in this case, we'll be billing the developer for the additional.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, we already
There was a motion.
did.
Oh, Scott and Mark. The record show the motion to approve has passed unanimously. Very good. Okay, we are to item C, certified surveying map for Dale and Cynthia Marks, Town of Woodville, parcels 12,383 and 12,380. Chad?
What's in your packet is relevant. All I would say is this is a extraterritorial planning that municipality, cities and villages have in the state of Wisconsin. So the county has forwarded to us and we need to just look at stuff that's close to our borders. So that's what we're doing. This is not in our jurisdiction.
Okay, so there's a motion by Matt, second by Mike to approve. What's your ballot? Let the record show the motion to approve has passed unanimously. Okay, we have review of the concept plan for the DPW garage break room expansion.
Yes,
Chad?
so Mike is here. If the board would like, he wants to, I would like him to just talk a little bit about the proposed project real briefly, and then to talk about the cost estimates. Mike, if you can just come up to the podium. Here's the revised cost that came out after the packets went out.
Yeah, I agree. I can barely see him. Even with my magnifying glass, I couldn't hardly see it. Sorry.
That's right. My name is Mike Martin, Senior Architect with McMahon Associates in Neenah. Do we have a plan to show on the screen?
No, they have the plan.
It's just really hard. to build.
Yep. Got an electronic copy.
Good.
Of everything.
Good.
Thank you.
See how this is gonna work. Hold tight.
Jan, bring up the packet with my, I'll be on the neighbor. Yeah.
Which one am I looking at? Oh, yeah, I've seen it, but I've seen it. Tell me which one I'm looking at in the.
We don't want to look at Google.
Google. Well said.
Well, you know what? She's gonna pull something different. I can't do this. I gotta go over there. Yeah, Vicky, can you go to the,
The share drive, I can get it to the screen.
oh. Okay, hold tight.
What's gonna be shared is the entire set, which is, I think the board was given floor plans and elevations. I have the entire 50% set.
Okay, should be there.
Use the arrow keys.
Yeah, does it go forward?
There we go.
Good boy.
We'll get you bigger copies after the meeting.
So what you see on the screen now is the present conditions of the village hall and DPW garage. Right now you have 2 drive-through bays. The employees eat their lunches and have their meetings within the garage space. The staff approached the McMahon Associates to come up with a solution. How can we best add on to the building, have drive-through bays and provide, I wouldn't say accommodations, but a better space for employees to have office, training area, lunchroom, bathroom, showers. So one of the things encompassed in this project is going to be, okay, how are we going to make this fit on the current site? Our original idea was to take and add 4 bays to the end of the building, going east, which would entail the removal of the salt shed and the relocation of the existing building. That existing post frame building at the end of this building here is in really good shape. What we can do is we can relocate it somewhere else. And in our proposal or our cost estimate of pretty probable cost, we put an allotment in to basically pick the building up and move it somewhere else and set it on a new concrete slab, theoretically somewhere else. You're not losing the building, you're not losing the square footage, we're just going to move it somewhere else. In this rendition here, we're going to take the existing wash bay and make that the office, restroom, and new sign shop. The square footage is already paid for, the box is already there, we're going to build it out. That way we're not adding additional brand new square footage. This plan here shows the concept that we came up and worked with staff on this. We're going to add 4 bays easterly. The last bay will be a drive-through bay. Each one of the bays inside here will be for vehicle storage only. There's some code implications if you do vehicle repair. We're going to separate the new construction from the existing building by a 3-hour firewall. The present facilities are on septic and they're on a well, so that doesn't bode well for fire protection. However, if we limit the size of the building, which we have, we limit the occupants' use, which we have, we can get around fire sprinkling in the building. You'll see where the wash bay will be the new office, break room, training room, and restrooms, which we have blown up on the next page here. Additionally, I should say, we also are repairing the floor in the existing garage. It's pitted very badly from salt over the years. You kind of see that in that little hatch pattern. It's below the tables, you can kind of see in the, break room. This is a large plan of the proposed, build out area of the existing wash bay, so we'll be taking the fuel tank out of there. Putting it somewhere else on the site, basically across the pavement, as a placeholder for right now, that's something that can be worked out. We're not getting rid of it, we're just moving it. Here we'll have an office, a planned. The best way to call it a plan, where you'll have your flat files in there, space for a break, space for training, 3 cubicles, the storage area, men's and women's toilets, all ADA compatible, and showers for each gender. And then we'll also have a area for the sign shop, which will be kind of displaced by the moving of the existing things in the garage.
What I'll say on that is the office would be, the office that has the door and would be closed would be Jeff's office, so that he's got a little bit more confidentiality related to if there is employment issues and those kinds of things, so that everybody isn't hearing what's going on, because we have no real place to do that currently.
Oh, there.
Yes.
With plan. Finished plans, let's kind of go to the elevations here. So the back of the building, the north building, the north elevation here, you'll see we're gonna cut some new windows in so that Jeff's office has a window. There's some high windows in there to get some natural light in, a new employee entrance door. As we move kind of towards the left-hand side of the sheet, there's gonna be a small overhead door, enough for a pickup truck to come in, grab signs, whether it be signs, posts, tools, whatever, for the sign shop. Be able to pull it out, and then we'll have the 4 new bays, which is going left on the very top elevation. Matching the 20-foot wide by 14-foot tall doors that are there now. The east elevation that's standing this direction, looking back at it, you can kind of see the firewall as it goes up. And then the south elevation, which is along 114, the building will look like, it'll just be a continuation of what's here.
The door in the middle that looks different is the current bay. There's a bay there now that will be putting a door into there. It's got to be a little bit smaller, so that's why it's that way, but it can store a pickup truck or a larger vehicle. That kind of one in the middle there where the gray, yeah, that one right there, that looks different.
Okay.
And it's because it's a smaller area, but we thought, let's maximize that as another parking bay and put a garage door in there, and if they can't get a plow truck in there, they can get a pickup.
Go back to the site plans, you can kind of see what it, this is how we kind of lay on the site. So about 4 additional bays gets us to right about where the limits are presently. To still be able to swing a plow truck around the end of the building, as without expanding any further to the east.
So I handed out cost estimates. You can see the cost is about 2.57 million. If you recall, the SEH facilities plan originally budgeted this at 4.8 million. So, we're hoping that the board is in agreement with moving forward with this. The plan would be to borrow for these funds with the fire station in 2025 and, be able to move forward and final the design and get this thing out to bid and start working on the improvements.
And this was included in the Baird.
Yes. Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure that it's all covered. Okay.
One thing of note, we do have funds in our estimate or our opinion of probable cost to replace the existing rooftop unit on the existing shop. 1, it's outdated. It's at the end of its life cycle. 2, it does not properly meet code for getting truck exhaust out. So that's in the budget to help improve the existing shop area. Well, repair is done in the existing, storage would be in the new.
Right.
Thank you. So the 4 new bays, all 4 drive through.
Yes, sir.
See this?
Yep.
You get back-to-back trucks, you get you in there?
Yep.
Matt?
Just a question on the wash bay, does that include any kind of underbody washing things that all get salt off of?
No, it just includes what they have today, which is a a pressure washer system that they use. I don't think you just use that and you're gonna clean everything up properly.
Yeah, we have a wand that reaches underneath the trucks with pressure on.
Our estimate includes a new hot seat, which is like a portable unit. Same idea. The current unit right now, I believe, does not exhaust correctly. The code, so we did include a line item in our OPC for a new one. Could you guys choose to go there?
Yeah, I just wonder, I think about like your, and not saying buy pool car wash equipment, I know like it's expensive, but. You think about when you pull into a car wash, you got the underbody flush, and you guys would think about going to, you getting more bins stuff here, I don't know what they would cost to have a. I think one bin that you turn a valve or something that would go out on seat or something, to make that even easier. Because I also see an application here where. There should be wide enough, it's wide enough for the ball trucks, wide enough for the fire trucks too, where they help us keep the fire trucks and get the salt off of them better and stuff too, so. That's where I'm thinking that underbody flush, they said, well, the ground is already underneath them tonight, so.
We can look at that.
Sure. Again, this is all concept.
Any other questions or comments? Or are you looking for a motion to approve the concept plan?
This is just a review of the concept plan, right?
Yeah, I would prefer a motion to accept the concept and authorize staff to continue forward.
Is that sort of motion to approve concept plan? Okay.
I'll second.
Well, let's go back to our button.
Got our, okay, so is there a motion? Okay, motion by Scott. And second by Julene to approve the concept plan for DPW. Any other discussion? Which ballot? Thank you. Let the record show the motion to approve the concept plan is passed unanimously. Very good. Okay. Resolution. Is it? I got something out of order here. Okay, I got the resolution next for authorizing the issuance and establishment parameters for the sale of the.
You want to use mine?
My agenda's wrong then. Here. Okay,
You don't have the same agenda as I have?
I have a wrong agenda. Okay. I have the wrong agenda. Okay, approval of the next steps for the implementation of the transportation impact fee. Right? Who's speaking to us, Chad?
I don't know that there's anything more that I need to say. You started to education if the board wishes. The request would be to move this forward and start amending the ordinance and having the public hearing and try to get this wrapped up maybe by the first year. So going forward in new construction, we can act on this fee.
Matt?
I just want to thank staff for your diligence on this, I think this is. Very important for our existing taxpayers, making sure that growth is happening. And they are not impacted directly for that growth.
All right, is there a motion?
Yep. There's been a motion. Second.
Motion is second to approve. Which ballot? Julian, you gotta push a button. Let the record show the motion to move forward is passed unanimously.
And it's.
All right.
10 years overdue.
Okay, so now we are to resolution B, 2024, authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of the general obligation promissory notes. Not to exceed $8,275,000. Motion by Scott. For a second. Second by Mark. To approve. Any discussion? Quick ballot.
I wanted to say one thing.
Okay.
I just want to say, Russ, you kind of opened my eyes up to this. Actually, we kind of discussed it last year before you were here, but doing the 2 year. That to me makes more sense than doing it year by year.
I think there's a lot of, and Justin can chime in as well, but a lot of communities are the size of Harrison. Look at doing that on the 2 year cycle, number one, you know, there's some issuance costs in going to the market. And, you know, doing all the work, and if you do a good job on your capital. You can set things in place to make it more efficient. I think Justin would agree that, you know, communities, the size of Harrison right now, you know, and every other year approach really works well to try to minimize all of the steps. There's a lot of staff time that goes involved. And, you know, you heard today that we already met with Moody's on the bond rating and those type of things, but there's a lot of staff time on preparing the official statement that goes out and all the work associated with that. So doing it every other year approach seems to make a lot of sense.
You don't have to do it every year, you can do it every, so it saves you staff time, so.
Right.
You don't have to do it next year, so, I mean, at first, when you first posed this, I was like, what? But
And just to remember now, for the
it's,
fire station and the public works expansion or remodeling, because that's gonna be a new facility, we're going on 20 years as opposed to 10 years. And, you know, the plan of keeping the road improvements and other equipment 10 years makes sense. So that's why, you know, we'll be coming back to do something in, you know, the May, June, July timeframe for the other longer term issues.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, I well, just wanted to thank staff for their work on this, and then just for the public too, that may review stuff. Don't necessarily like borrowing money, unfortunately, it's state legislature kind of pays their hands with budget limits, so that's why we have to borrow.
Okay, Matt, do you want to push your button? Let the record show, motion is passed unanimously. Okay. Class B liquor license for Lake Park Pub.
So I received the application, everything is in order. I see the applicant is here, if anybody had any questions, but otherwise everything should be good to go.
There's a motion by Julian. Is there a second? Second by Mark. Approve. Any
It
discussion?
is on the condition of getting confirmation of the final sale.
Yes.
So the issuance, the granting is tonight by the board, and then it would be issued by the clerk once everything is.
Contingent on the sale. No other discussion?
Yeah, I just one question, I know I bring this up all the time. Is this a state statute thing that these liquor licenses come to the board, or is it?
State statute. The board approves liquor licenses. The board has granted the clerk the authority to approve the operator license. But when you're actually giving the license to the business owner, that is your authority. I can look and see.
No,
We can consider.
That's
Right.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the board has to issue the license because there's,
Yes.
you know, there's a lot of
Right.
property rights that go with that granting of that license. So it's a board action has to.
Okay.
Every municipality is.
Yes. Okay, Julian and Mark, would you guys push your buttons? Let the record show the motion has passed unanimously. All right, request for discharge, a waiver for the discharge of firearms for parcel 39-148. Matt, you had a question?
Well, I don't know if they're staff's gonna introduce this first or not, or always I guess I have a question on this topic.
Well,
It's a memo, that pretty much explains the situation.
Okay, I don't
If
see
you want to
anything.
have questions.
So then like, again, my
Yeah.
question is. I see the recommended action as will of the board. And I guess. I'd really like a professional opinion from staff on this. I know this is a careful balance of. Rights and all of that. And if I do want people to be able to use their land. On the other hand, we do have with exclusion prohibited zones, subject to board approval for a reason, which is why it's here tonight. And there is a subdivision to the north. We also know we're going to be doing, the public safety building and commercial development literally right next door to this. So I don't know if a one-time, you know, if letting do it this year, then sets up some precedent for future years, and I guess I'm really looking for some staff opinion on it.
Chad? Chad, go ahead.
I guess, I don't think it's necessary that the board allow these to come back, so. I kind of agree that this may be one time year, this year we can handle it. Vicky and I talked about, and we're gonna be coming back with modifications to this going forward, because we're seeing a lot of development and things that are in the plan for these specific areas, so this is gonna be changed going forward, and it's probably not gonna qualify after this year, but I think this year it should be fun. Would you agree with me?
Okay.
Not on this. I'm sorry, very respectfully, this is only for the 4.5 acres, this is not the large section, this is a small section.
Oh,
He would have to go back and get the trust. He would have to get to the father of the person that signed this one.
So
So
technically,
this
he
is
doesn't,
just for this house property he's requesting today. The gentleman wants to know if it's worth his effort to go and take out another application for the large section, but that would mean he has to go to the dad of Bill.
then that changes my mind, right?
Yeah.
okay, so basically, he doesn't have enough land on his own.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify. Okay, Mike?
That was my question.
Yeah, so,
Vicky answered my question.
so
And
the,
again, it says a guest of the family's
It
gonna
is
hunt.
a guest of the family. I have not spoken to anyone of the family members. It appears that this guest of the family came in and asked if he could go and hunt on it because his Mr. Stump told him, yeah, go ahead on my land. And then he found out he needed a waiver. And because the two parcels together at one time, I mean, it's a long family history parcel, and then it split. And now part of it is in trust by the eldest member with Patrick. One of the sons is in charge of that trust. The Philip is the small parcel owner, and that's the one that was giving the friend of the family permission to go hunt on his land.
okay, so, Matt, did I skip you?
No, I asked my question very.
Okay, all right. So then, Julian is next. Julian is next?
Yes, didn't we just deny a request like this with them? Yeah, okay, so on the same thought, we denied a request like this just maybe meetings ago for someone who wanted to combine it, so just, I know it seems kind of picky, but in the interest of being fair, I would not.
Okay, Scott, you're next.
Wow, we
Same
totally
thing?
agree on this one.
Ah,
We have to be consistent. We can't go 1 month, say you can't, and then you can. So my issue with this one is they don't have the 40 acres to combine, and that's the issue. They have to have 40 acres as one parcel in order to meet the criteria of the ordinance. And if we have to make exceptions,
But I denied this, so he is asking me to ask you
for a waiver.
for, I've already told him that it was denied, and he's asking if he can come back again and with the board.
we have to be consistent. I would just say we have to be consistent. Otherwise, we have to change our ordinance then. Because if we're making exceptions, then there's something wrong with the ordinance, so.
And then
So-
Darlene,
No, I was gonna say the same thing they did.
all right, are you guys prepared to vote your ballot then? Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
Don't make a motion, it just fails, too. We don't have to make.
Well, it's nice to put it on the record. We can make a motion to approve and everybody can vote against it.
Or make a motion to support the clerk's decision to deny it.
Let's,
Okay, I'll make that motion. There. To support the clerk's decision to deny.
Or to
This
affirm
request.
the clerk's decision. Have I already gave?
oh wait, now we're at a double negative, guys.
Can't have a negative
Let's-
legislation.
Let's not have a double negative. So the request is for a waiver. All right, so is there a motion to approve the request for a
Let's
waiver?
just do it that way.
All right,
I'll second it.
okay, so motion by
I didn't really want to motion that.
Well,
Well, if Darrell doesn't want to, you shouldn't make her either.
well, then,
I really don't.
all right, go back.
Take-
You can vote against it. I'm just doing an affirmative.
But if she doesn't want to have it be a motion,
If that, then take it off. Then you take it off. How do you take it off?
we can start over again here since there was a lot of that before.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
But we ended up with a double negative motion, so those are.
Well, that's the only way I would do it.
Well, we don't want to do a double negative because then it's very confusing. So,
Wow.
and I understand.
There we go, we're back to
All
zero.
right, Scott, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, we don't have to. Things die for it. It's considered request. If we don't make a motion, it dies. I'm sorry, we don't have to make motions and stuff. We don't.
I think we should put it on record, so I'm gonna make the motion to.
Okay, there's a motion by Julie, a second.
Yeah.
To it. A second by Scott, and the motion is to, if you make it an affirmative motion to approve the waiver, okay?
Even though I'm going to vote yes.
Yes,
Got it.
I mean, you
Okay,
make
we're
the
making
motion to,
To approve the board, to approve the discharge of firearms waiver parcel 391
and
This is to approve.
to approve.
Does everybody
Yeah,
understand?
Scott, you're good with that? With a second in that motion. Okay, so the motion is to approve, so vote your ballot. Okay, let the record show. The motion to approve the waiver failed unanimously. All right? That way we don't have any double negatives. Okay, very good. Okay, next on the agenda is proclamation in support of the REACH ribbon week. I'm not gonna say. No, that's
That's Brendan Week.
hard to say. So is there a motion to approve?
This is almost over though, right?
They got it to us late, and this was the next one, so they said that they would still appreciate just having it documented that another community supports that.
Okay, so there's a motion and second to approve. Any discussion? Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. Okay, now we have a lot of bills to pay. Okay, the first is approval of certificate of payment number 3 for 2024 asphalt resurfacing program for $52,056.83. There's a motion by Matt, second by Mike to approve. Any discussion? Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. Next up is approval of certificate number 2 for asphalt resurfacing program number 2, including Blazing Meadows and Fire Station 60 parking lot for $49,345.39. Vicky, you gotta fix the buttons there. Is there a motion? You need a motion first.
Can't you put it on voting?
Okay, there's a motion by Scott, second by Julie to approve. Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion to pay has passed unanimously. All right, next,
Can I make a motion that the next, or can I suggest that we do L, M, N as combined for approving those paving projects as one, or can we not?
Yes.
So I would make a motion that we combine L, M, and N
for approval.
for approval.
There's a second.
Awesome.
Okay, so Scott, go ahead and push your button. Motion. And somebody second it. Who's, Matt second it. All right, vote your ballot. To approve all of these, because we're gonna pay our bills anyway. Okay, so all of those are approved all the way down
Just a
to,
minute.
did you say N? I'm sorry?
I said I saved us a minute.
You saved a minute. Okay, so we're down to O. Oh, am I in the right spot now, guys? We're down to O for the change order.
I need the button.
So obviously, I can just say on this project, on the State Park Road Children, this work is already done. But we want to get it covered by the grant that we have on this versus the staff, original road staff was going to do this.
They can't fund, village works, so we put it on the grants, on the contractor, so we get reimbursed from the cap, from the DOT.
Okay, so there's a motion by Lancaster, second by Darlene to approve. Any discussion? Which ballot? And it's passed unanimously. Very good. Okay, we are down to change order number 1 for Crossroads Business Park. Modify the storm sewer and fill in the final grade. Motion by Scott. Second by, I missed it. Second, second by Mark to approve. Any discussion? Vote ballot. Let the record show the motion has passed unanimously. Okay, we are to the request to get our own zip code. We've talked about this a couple of times. People have talked about this. What do you think? What do you guys think? Should be.
Let's get ourselves on record.
You're on record. Trust Mike. All right. Yeah, Mike.
I know we tried, I wasn't part of the board, trying, was it 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
The possibilities of it, of us getting it now, I don't know, because there's so much confusion. I'm in Menasha, there's Appleton, I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
To get our own identity, I think it's great,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't know where they live.
you know, safe.
They don't.
And so if I would just add to that, I think, I know this has been tried, it might be a long shot. However, we have issues right now with voting where people are delivering their ballots to Appleton, they're delivering their ballots to Menasha, because that's where their address is, even though they're Harrison people, they don't know where they live. And so I think we're gonna put that in this request as well, it's the fact that it's affecting the voting process and see where it goes, and at least, there's a detailed set now laid out from 2022 that the Fed did on how to do, how they're moving forward, so it's worth a try.
And Scott, did you have something?
Am I up? Okay, so when I was county supervisor, I met with the state DOT and they told me specifically that we lose out on federal grant money for federal highway system because of the fact we don't have our own zip code. Because the state allocates state funding grants based on area, zip code. And so when I live in Appleton zip code, so if there's a grant for 54915, Appleton as a municipality gets the funding because they're the majority of that zip code. So the state DOT said to me that if we ever want to get state and federal grant money for infrastructure, we would first need to get our own zip code. And I think that's important considering the growth and the infrastructure right now is lacking by state and federal authorities in this area, which we know that the traffic is absolutely deplorable at this point. So I think this would go a long way to remedy that infrastructure issue. So that's all I gotta say.
Okay, Julie, I think you're next.
I think you skipped.
Did I
Matt.
skip Matt?
But you did, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Just with this. Last time, it's never advanced, applying to the post office, it never left the board. So there is a key difference here. And I do think I agree with their kind of people, they really are to that point. Just with, I think we're losing out on businesses even because they don't. Businesses trying to locate here, because they don't exist as far as businesses go. And looking at the process here on the second page. The post office ends up, if they're in favor of the initial part of this here under survey of affected customers. Post office does survey the entire population that would be impacted, so individuals do get the right to give their opinion. And if we get to that point, it's just gonna be very important that we do a good public education campaign on why we're trying to do this, because I realize there is certainly some effort that residents are gonna have to do, one time to update some addresses, but I think the long term, getting federal funding and businesses and knowing where they are, it all, it somehow outweighs it. required, so thank you.
Elaine.
Yeah, I'll just, ditto what they said, and also I'm just in support of it, because I believe it's not a, a now or never proposition, it's a now or someday soon, because of the development that we're doing and the growth that we're experiencing. The only thing I'd echo too is just that, as long as we can give people advance notice for businesses or whatever, but I'm sure you can. That. Thank you.
You prepared to vote your ballot?
Motion.
We need a motion. I thought we skipped it. There was a motion by Mike,
No.
motion by Scott, second by Jolene. Vote your ballot. Guys are two. All right, motion to proceed is passed unanimously. All right, it'll be fun. Okay, so dates to the development agreement.
So
Chad,
if I may, Chair, trustee Lancaster asked for this at the last meeting. So the things that I see that should be looked at are listed in a memo, changing of the hourly rate, which we worked on with the payroll department, on what those changes should be in the agreements, and then, the parkland dedication fee, update from 25,000 per acre to 40,000 based on recent sales of the market. And I think that would take care of, direct costs and things. I don't know if the board had if trustee Lancaster had other things to include, in this change, and I'm happy to do that. I do have a development agreement coming to the next board, so doing it too, and that it will include this stuff, so.
motion by Matt. Second by Scott to approve. Any discussion? Questions? Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion has carried unanimously. Okey doke, we're up to county and development design guidelines.
There's nothing really new other than what's in your packet, but I will say that, we worked on this because I would like to see the, county end development be a little bit higher standard than maybe what's in the village in other places. So when you look through this, I think, we're trying to build our new, lack of better words, downtown or village center, and I think we need to hold the development world to a higher standard. That's the reason for implementing these. If the board so chooses to approve this, the next step would be to get this into protected covenants, similar to what we did with Crossroads, so that they're tied to following these standards that they need.
Matt?
Okay, Madam President, so overall, I think this looks great. My only comment, just because of this gets circulated and in dealing with prospective businesses as well, and residents wondering what's going on there and what could go on there, that I do believe the last page, the concept number 1 alternate, could be updated if it would be the sole will of the majority of the board. That the larger square, when you're looking at assisted living, wellness, personal care, I don't believe we should be supporting that as a TID. I'm not saying it couldn't be a business type that's somewhere, an additional one in the village, but I just don't think we should be subsidizing that because our services alone, we subsidize that. And instead, that area should be reserved for various professional services or different things like that. When you think about your attorneys, dentists, doctors, that don't necessarily require funding to long end. So thank you.
Yeah, I think, back to said in the past, it's a master plan, it'll come before the board. Maybe as I was thinking about it, maybe we'll just change that to be a large scale development and we'll leave it kind of generic. And what comes forward on that comes forward and we'll, kind of work it again. Work for me.
Okay, there's a motion by Scott to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Vote your ballot. Motion is carried unanimously. All right. We are going to do some maneuvering with money for TID 5. We're going to borrow and then pay ourselves back, right?
Yeah, so the developer, Scott, and Whitney, is going to close on this before the end of the year. I'm not sure that the holidays coming up, and the state trust fund is going to get us the funding. But I'm graciously asking for an advance from the general fund to the TID So we can close this deal, and then once we get the state trust funding in place, it would just reimburse the, Sure.
There's a motion by Scott, there's a second by Mark to approve. Any discussion? Which ballot? Let the record show the motion has passed unanimously. Okay. And then this is the other half of that. This is the approval to apply the state trust fund for the same amount of money. Motion by Scott. Oh, I missed it. Mark, was that you that did the second by Scott, Mark, the motion by Scott, second by Mark to approve. Which ballot? And it was passed unanimously. Very good. Okay, discussion possible approval on land prices for county and commercial district and naming the district.
So, you can see in the memo that I did some homework on what the property has been purchased for over the years. And equating to about 1.8 million, there's about 50 acres of land. When you calculate it out, it's about 37,000 an acre. We're recommending 45,000 an acre, which would generate just over $1.9 million. That's 450,000 to the diocese, that line, that's a reimbursement to the general fund. So that would happen in the rating agency is looking for that. So as I've said to a few board members, I intend to market this property similar to what we did with Crossroads. We're selling it for a more reasonable value, and we're putting in the infrastructure, and that's the TID on it. So we would hopefully not have to give any more TID incentive unless it's a major commercial development of, some type of franchise business or something like that we really want to get here. And those will come back before the board. As for the name, we had a discussion in the office about what it should be. So we need to come up with a name that would go on the preliminary final plat that will be coming back before you next month. Harrison Commerce Corner, Harrison Commerce Park, something of that sort, is what we're thinking, but we're up to suggestions from the board. We just have to agree on something.
The motion is for, say, the number of the acres, not the name.
Yeah, but we want to make sure you're on board with the name. So if you don't like what we propose, then let us know. I don't know that we're gonna ever have signage out there. Frankly, this is just gonna be on the plat. Every subdivision has a flat name, so we have to come up with something to put on. So, let us know if that's.
Okay, so there's some. Yeah,
Well, this is speaker for discussion. Yeah. So I think the name's great. I actually think staff would look at putting a sign out there. I think about like the city's industrial park. You walk in, you get into the industrial park. They have, for example, we've got a monument sign. I think that gives identity. I think that's important to show that as Harrison, we're developing this, to show the community that we're.
And I think I think you're absolutely right. And we probably, it brings up a valid point. We probably would do something similar to the signs that we did, just keep reinforcing our brand.
Yeah, that's just my only other comment, look, as far as the preliminary plat goes, is things advances. I know it's named there because it kind of lines up, but where you have Sweet Lane Drive there, especially since that is right off the end, and this is Commerce, is there a name or a street that reflects Commerce or something? Sure. Because that's gonna be your main street sign, and it's probably a long time before anything back to the west there goes through, and so I just think that having that little strip with nothing to get really confusing for people, I think. Otherwise, so.
Julie?
Yes, I like the name Harrison Commerce. I think corner just seems to denote a smaller area. So my suggestion would be Harrison Commerce Complex or Harrison Commerce Center.
Or park.
Or park.
Commerce
What about
Park.
What about parking, like a Harrison Commerce Park?
I don't care if I like it. It's just. It's not on the hill, so.
What did you say?
Harrison Commerce Complex or Center.
Complex meaning singular or complex?
I think it's.
But we don't need to decide on the name tonight.
Correction, I don't want.
That's one thing.
You want it to
I think the Harrison Commerce Park would
Because,
be.
because most places I'm gonna put.
Okay.
HCP.
Put your head down and put your hand up and let us know we weren't, I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, there's a motion, well, we did have a motion and a second to approve of the $45,000.
Separate motions, we did separate motions.
We'll do it in two separate motions. So your motion, Scott, was to approve of the 45,000 per acre, correct? And Mark, did you second that? I can't remember. Oh, Julie seconded that. Okay, so we're voting on the 45,000 per acre, all right?
And I like the way that we do this with the lower price than giving incentive. I think that's the better way to do it.
Yeah, okay, so the 45,000 per acre has passed unanimously. Okay, naming. Harrison Commercial Park, Commerce Park.
Commerce Park. Harrison Commerce Park. You wanna make the motion, Bud?
Okay, Mark's making a motion for Harrison Commerce Park. Oh, Scott, you had the second. Any other discussion, guys? All right, porch ballot. Done, except for one name, one name. That's okay, die on that hill, that's okay. All right, so we have a name. Are you happy now, Chad? You're good?
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. All right. Okay, then we have a request from Fox Valley Snow Riders. To use village-owned property to maintain snowmobile trails, and there was something where it would be okay this year, but next year when we do construction, it might not be good. That would
Yeah, so that, I think, the Fire Lane 12 one is all right, the, 55 and State Day one may be impacted by the future development, but nothing for this winter, so we're recommending it.
We lost our.
I lost who was, well, there's a motion by Mike and a second by Mark to approve. Who asked to speak? Scott?
My only question is, we do that. What, are we liable if they use the snowmobile trails, if someone gets injured on our property, do they have to sign a waiver of liability or anything?
They have recreation.
I just wanted to ask.
Every landowner is a.
Okay, Matt, you next?
My only other question was, I don't know how much of a relationship, there probably wasn't one much in the past with the snowmobile club, and I just wonder if there's other opportunities, especially you think about lake access or different things like that to, and I'm not sure how far down this club goes, but I'm just thinking about like the new, Arrow Springs area and things like that. Is there other areas that also want
They
to?
take it all the way out there, don't they, Mark?
What?
Isn't this the group that does the
This
trails
goes
all the way
this
out?
goes all the way to Stockbridge.
Yeah,
Chilton,
Yeah.
Hilbert.
goes all the
Okay.
way over.
So
Yeah.
I guess I would just encourage staff, if the staff is here, to also look at, is there other, so then put a hand out there to them of, hey, we want to be good partners, is there other areas too that would help you guys have good recreation in here?
This trail that goes to the south end of, Harrison on Carroll Springs, then it connects with all,
I think it goes all the way to the show.
yeah, this is then.
Stockbridge,
Yeah.
So they, it's the same trail every year.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mike and a second by Mark to approve. Porch ballot. Motion is carried unanimously. Very good. Okay. Review the opinion of cost for the emergency engine generator at the village hall.
So what I would say, there's a lot of information in this packet on this number. What I would say is related to this, I had Standard Shock and the price came back at $287,000. However, it's almost a 2-year time frame from the time that we order it. So I guess, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to do this. You just can't plop a generator out there. There's gotta be foundations and different things and, boring into the building and changing out the cabinets and all of that kind of stuff. So we whittled out the things that staff can do. It was originally $299,000. It's more than
I think we have in the capital plan 60 or 70,000, that will just buy us the generator and we'll do the rest of it. So that's why it's before you, I just want to make sure that the board is on board with the cost before we get to final design and bidding on this. I think in the long term, given the generator problems we've had in the past, with that mobile unit, having an automatic transfer switch that just converts over when the power goes out. And, you know, for emergency purposes makes a lot of sense. It's just that if the costs are what the costs are, and we don't have a super big generator here by any means, but the way we do it old fashioned by moving it over and plugging it in and having somebody come down and start it up and then turn it off. And there's a lot of, you know, manpower and stuff that goes into that we can quantify as well. So I guess we want to hear from the board what your thoughts are on this. I don't think it's going to get any cheaper. Frankly, I think engine generators are going to get more expensive with all these hurricanes and everything. We could probably pay for this over a 2-year period. But I don't want to move forward with a project of this size without the board's consideration.
Mike?
I see it's a diesel generator.
Yes,
How big a tank is on it?
150 gallons or something.
You know, it goes out, you can have a babysitter for it.
No, it can run for, I think it can run for 48 hours straight.
Okay, why not a natural gas?
Actual gas, like what kind of natural gas?
Natural gas,
Like an R and
Because I don't think we have natural gas out.
but there's not, sure, we have to have something, what's it heated by?
No, don't they have propane tanks?
No, we have no gas here.
Is there natural gas out there? I didn't think
That's
so.
not the glass brand.
Just figured that,
And the lights sticking right in the district.
we just figured that we can have her go to natural gas, and that's an easy conversion.
Right.
We just have diesel right down in the diesel tank, so,
Right.
you know, we can keep it full and do what needs to be done.
I know you get more KWs with diesel or gas, or regular gas than natural gas. You do get more KWs. I believe it's based on the size of the generator. Typically, so there's smaller ones run on natural gas, larger ones run on. So it depends on the size. I don't know if this is a whole house generator or.
This is a whole building, so it's gonna be a full application.
150 kW, like the website, right?
Matt, you had a question?
So basically, I guess my only thing would be on this, is there any grant funding available, like for USDA World Development, things like that, that?
I mean, this is an emergency, put this thing, we can take a loan. I think there's some savings in the capital outlay program from some of the projects and, you know. And go to bid and see what it is and figure out the financing kind of things.
Yeah, I guess, because I know they will fund certain building stuff, some, you know, building projects and stuff
They
sometimes.
normally have a 4-year.
No, I mean, grant wise, no, I just wonder, I didn't know if there was something where,
I don't know that yet. I don't think it's qualified. I think
all right, comes to mind, for the grant stuff, okay, for road development, so.
yes.
Mike, you had another question?
Yeah, I believe it's time to get to the 21st century here. So, I'm in favor.
Okay, so there is a motion by Julene and a second by Mark to approve.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All right, vote your ballot. Yeah, you got to push the button. There we go. Motion is carried unanimously. Right, very good. And if we can pay for that over 2 years, that would be better yet. It's probably good. The lead time on probably getting this thing is probably,
It is 2 years before we're gonna get it.
yeah, that's crazy. Okay. Bless you. Approval of an independent contract between Birchenbach Inspection Service and the Bill Kerosene for building inspection services.
So if I may, Chair.
Yep.
Pretty much everything is the same in your document. I did review this memo this morning with, Paul. He's on board with it. He's got a potential improvement for the building inspector position, so if it's approved in the 25 budget. He wants to get somebody with building capabilities, and he's gonna mentor them to get the certifications they need to be able to become licensed. So I think this is a good plan for, gives us backup plan, and it also gives us a plan to recruit and bring on a new inspector as a full-time employee, so. There is some small increases in fees. He hasn't had any increases since 2019. And then at such time that we bring somebody on full-time and they're licensed to operate, we'll probably amend the contract and figure out where we're at that point. But we may need some additional services from them, but we'll change that at that time. We know more about who this new inspector is.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mike and a second by Darlene, and Matt, you had a comment?
Yeah, actually, I wanna make a motion to amend, I think I have to do it this way. I wanna make a motion to amend the original motion here, where I believe there should be a clause added here. That the village has the right to modify this in the event that we have a fully trained in-house building inspector, because right now, instead of the term of the contract, it's just straight January 1st through December 31st, so he could enforce this and we'd be paying twice.
Makes sense.
Okay, so there's a motion to amend the terms of the contract. Is there a second?
Pushes motion.
Way at the end. So you'd say,
No, yeah, it's a new motion. Okay, so this is motion to amend by Matt, second to amend by Scott,
This is just an amendment.
just on the amendment to add,
Exit clause, basically.
correct.
Yeah, basically that we would have the right to modify the terms of the agreement if we hired a full-time inspector.
Is it
The length of
renegotiate or terminates?
I think we're probably amending, because I don't think we're gonna find something with the licensure that we're gonna need to just do away with.
I get it. Gotcha.
Okay, so there's a motion, and a second to amend the approval of the independent contractor contract to include the right to amend the
Once a
terms.
full-time,
We have the option to amend the terms.
yeah, once we have a full-time inspector on staff. That's the motion, right?
yeah, so we're not just gonna go back to them in a month and try to renegotiate something, it's that. Has to be at some of their trip that trip that is full time, and stuff.
Everybody vote.
Andy, is that good? You look, Andy? Andy.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it to see,
Who's-
yeah, just because it lasts for 1 year doesn't necessarily mean. It's a,
I'm sure it's gonna have to go back to them, and the language is gonna have to get, something's gonna try to get added there.
well,
In-house inspector. And termination.
yeah, I don't know that you need to, if it's an independent contract, he's not really an employee. It doesn't look like he's getting charged with fee for that he works at. Not, so you just don't have any.
What he, yeah,
When you have someone else start.
what he had mentioned is that he would alter on ones that he originally issued. And then the new inspector would take over those revenue from the village, and he would get paid for that service.
Okay.
So the amendment to the contract, the amendment to the motion, the contract is good, right, Andy?
Yeah, my question is whether or not it's
It's already in there.
needed or not,
Oh,
but yeah, it doesn't hurt, but I think.
Doesn't hurt to vote for the amendment. Okay, so we're voting on the amendment, guys. All right. Okay, and the amendment to the contract is approved. Now we're voting, need a motion to vote on the amended motion by,
it should be the same, like clear.
Myself and I think
That was,
We already did that.
Yeah, I have,
I don't like.
Grant Meyer, and it was Mike and Darlene. one
Yeah.
first and second on the main motion.
We already did that.
yeah,
I don't know
we
why.
haven't voted the main motion yet.
Oh, so you want me to
Yeah,
re-motion?
yeah, remotion, the second again, okay. So this is to vote on the amended terms of the contract, correct? All right, good to go. All right, passed unanimously. Very good. Okay. Sarah Spring,
So. Hold on, the total contract?
we just did that.
Just did that.
We just did that.
I thought you were voting on the amendment.
First one was.
We did the amendment and then we voted on final, so it's all approved. Okay, so Mark,
We went back to bid on Feral Springs. We worked with Emily to shrink the size of the thing down based on guidelines from a number of folks that said we didn't need to have it divided what we had. So I worked before the line and we has in place. You'll see there's 5 or so bids that were provided. The low bid is Joe Matter, the local contractor. We have the capabilities to do this project, so the staff is recommending awarding the project bid again for the.
and that's your motion, Mark,
Yes.
and that's your second. Got any other, Mike?
I don't know which way you're gonna go, low bid here, these are both, on the low bid, these are both local contractors. Yeah, I'm going for Joe Martin. Okay, but I just wanna reiterate, they're both local contractors. And one of them lives in Harrison. Or he has a business in Harrison.
So you're talking Joe Matter, and who was the other one you were thinking of then, Mike?
Created concrete.
Well, United.
He owns Bobber's Bar.
He didn't bid.
He did with Joe Matter.
Yeah.
I called Joe. Yes, I know Joe very.
Okay, but Joe submitted the official. bid.
Yep, we're good to go.
So, okay, so the official, the
So we got
low bid
both.
is for
Motion
52,
second.
the motion is second. Matt,
So just with winter concrete charges coming and all that, are they just keep doing this yet this winter then, or?
Yes, I'm gonna do this in the next month.
Okay, thank you.
The November 1st, winter concrete charges get put out, then they.
Right, the design right now is precast concrete panels that will be slid in.
Oh,
The
good.
paving won't happen until spring, so it'll be in a gravel state over the winter.
Oh,
they're not gonna
pave it this way? I thought we were
I don't think he's gonna get it done by the time.
oh, cause I talked to, Tim Everett, who's doing he's gonna do the prepaid, path right in the back section of the Bobbers.
Okay, then maybe
the goal was to get that done in November.
okay,
Yeah, that's Joe told me. Yeah, seriously, they're gonna do the precast right in that gravel parking. We have to do it there.
well, that's great.
Normally the paving company shut down by year hunting, so hopefully they have that all in before then.
Yeah.
All right, well, vote your ballot, guys.
Like 3 weeks away.
Well, then they gotta move fast. Mark, there we go. Okay, the motion to award the contract to Joe Matter passed unanimously. All right. And then we are looking at the approval of service contract between Village of Harrison and Fox Valley Humane Association, and this is the same contract every year. Got
Is this a year by year thing? Can we go in a multi-year? I mean, this comes up every year. I mean, why do we do every year? I mean,
so that's what they do. I guess we can ask them if we can go more figures.
I I don't mind doing this every year, but we do it every year.
Yeah, we'll look at.
It takes time, like.
All right. So, is there a motion? Motion to approve, motion by Mark. Oh. Second by Mike. Oh, second by Darlene to approve. All right, vote your ballot. Julie, you gotta push a button. Batteries are going.
That's a bad one this time, huh?
Batteries are going. Yeah. Well, there we go, there we go. Almost. 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 Okay. I vote for it. It's funny, you almost voted. Almost. Last one, guys. There we go. Motion is carried unanimously. All right, very good.
Well, Madam President, I request that you wanna.
Well, wait, do you want to go through future agenda items? Because that's also part of my bet.
Well, it's a very serious matter. There was a very serious accident out here on State
Yeah,
Park.
yeah.
Again.
There was, yeah.
So I'd like a future agenda item. But what are we gonna do on our part to make that intersection safe? I know,
Right in my,
you're looking at a street light already, but
what I think, street light, I don't know that there's anything else.
flashing stop signs, I guess is what, we put flashing stop signs.
I don't have to get approval from the DOT, I would have to come down with this.
State highway did.
No, State Park is our. State highway right of way.
Right,
Okay, well,
beyond your drive.
okay, but that's where, again, I think we need to see what we can do.
You can, it's a state highway.
We can go to the state and see what we can do. and what-
We just got back from the state. They just said,
That was speed limit.
I'll find out if they would consider that, but at least if we could get a light, a yard, a street light up there, I think that would. Well, we have, we're gonna have to pay for it.
all right,
And then my only other thing. And it's already kind of on here, but so maybe it's part of this, it's already on here and it's a little bit more to it or it's separate item, I'm not sure what makes more sense. But the new development process checklist, I think, when it was on here, was originally meant for staff. But I also believe we need to review the applications for what's all required when someone's applying for things. Such as if someone's applying for a rezone, there's these things that the village requires.
that's state statute.
That's all in the application.
Yeah.
But maybe the application, that's what I'm saying, I think that process needs to review what we're requiring, does our requirements need to be different?
Looked at it when I got here, here to other communities, and I think.
Okay.
All right, future meetings, November 12th.
What is the safety options for 114 and 6 Park? Somebody second. And add it to the.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Cut the guy out.
Did he survive?
Got it, rules.
All right, so, next meeting's November 12th, right on here for us, November 12th, and then December 17th for our regular meetings. All good? Is there a motion to go into closed session?
In a small break.
In a small break, but we
I'll
can
second
go into closed session. All right, motion by Scott, second by Mike to go into closed session.
There's refreshments over there.
Okay, roll call vote, so Julie.
Aye.
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 Okay, we are in closed session. Thank you everyone for coming tonight.
Long city. Hey, I'm trying to have a state Tony or Planet Tony dog. They won't. I'm based in San Francisco.